470 days. That's how long we have had 97 hostages now held in the Hamas terror dungeons in captivity. So far, since October 7th, we've seen 158 returned, 117 of which were returned alive. But this situation we face now is the first opportunity we've really had to see a significant number of hostages returned since back in November 2023, during the last ceasefire that we had. And I want everyone to be able to understand a little bit about what this situation really is, what an opportunity it means, but also the dangers that are inherent in the situation that we are faced in today. A few key important things for us to understand here. What will happen over the next 6 weeks or so is phase one of the hostage deal, in which 33 hostages will be slowly drip fed out in what I can only describe as a sort of sick reality show perpetrated by Hamas, as they slowly release names, hostages, and hopefully continue the ceasefire operations for the remaining 6 weeks to get people back home, to get hostages that they've held for so long back into their homes. People will be waiting, families throughout Israel, friends and loved ones are waiting to see if their people, if the hostages that they've been waiting so long to return home will be returned safe and well, if they are even in fact alive, because as it stands right now, we do not know who is alive and who is dead of the remaining 97 that remain. All we know so far is that today we will see the return of 3 hostages by 4 p.m. or so the current plan goes. Romy Gonen, 23, Doron Steinbecher, 31, a Romanian citizen, and Emily Damari, 27, also a British citizen. These 3 women, civilians, who were taken either from their homes in Kfar Aza or from the Nova Music Festival itself, have been waiting these 470 days. And we hope that by 4 p.m. today, we are recording this ahead of that hour, that these 3 women will be returned home safe, exchanged, as it were, for between 50 and 30 Palestinian prisoners. We are talking murderers, terrorists, those that have been for so long held in Israeli prison to ensure that they do not kill and kill again. We are literally returning those hostages for hostage takers. And we hope, if the Bibas children can be returned, that we may be in fact be returning babies for baby killers. I mean, this is the situation that we find ourselves in right now. And it is a sort of sick game, as I said earlier, but one which Israel must unfortunately be in a position to play while they try and get these hostages returned back into our hands, so we can be thankful and hopeful that our loved ones can return. Now, in the meantime, Israel will, as this phase one deal continues, slowly pull its troops back from certain key positions in Gaza, unfortunately, potentially leaving Hamas in power for the time being, although this goes directly in contrast to what Israel wants to ensure that October 7th or an October 7th style massacre cannot happen again once, and certainly cannot happen again the hundreds or thousands of times that Hamas itself has promised that it would perpetuate if it had the opportunity. And this is what Israel needs to be able to prevent in future with the sort of sustainable future deal that Israel may or may not be able to create. And this is always the goal, although in the short term and in the meantime, getting the hostages back is, of course, the key goal. Now, understanding from there will be additional phases of this plan. Phase 2 is meant to be negotiated throughout the course of the 6 weeks of phase 1. And we don't really yet know how that will play out, but the goal of which will be to return the remaining, what would then be the remaining 65 hostages in exchange for Israel returning more of Gaza back to Palestinian control, hopefully under the auspices of additional players, whether it be the UN. We've heard talks of Qatar, Egypt, others who might be involved in the rebuilding and development of Gaza as Israel removes itself and taking over governance of the Gaza Strip. And then finally, in phase 3, the long-scale and long-term rebuilding process inside Gaza. But the important message here for us to understand is that as Hamas continues to play these sort of sick, twisted games, doing things as they did earlier today, like not giving the full names of the 3 hostages, those 3 hostages they plan to return today, not giving that information up until well past the deadline. These sort of sick games that Hamas continues to play may play out for weeks to come. They have the opportunity to play any sort of twisted games that they like. And as we've seen from Hamas in the past, it is likely that they will try and push any boundaries to try and renege on any deals, and must be held to account, not just by Israel, but by the international communities, by its own backers in Iran, Turkey, and Qatar. This is an absolutely critical message that must be held to account. Hamas must be held accountable, and the pressure must continue, not just today, not just tomorrow, not just for the 6 weeks of phase 1, but until every single hostage, alive or dead, is returned home. This is the message that we all must take. And here in Israel, here in the hostage square, in Hebrew. We stand hopeful that we can all celebrate with all the returned hostages and their loved ones soon. If indeed we could even do such a thing, given the horrors that they've been through, the 470 days that they have had to live through so far, and with many more yet to come. I just hope and wish everyone out there can hear this message, to keep that pressure on wherever you are around the world. Your voice matters to ensuring that we get our hostages home safe, and we're able to hopefully find a resolution that ends this war, that allows people to return to their homes, and that prevents Hamas from being in the sort of position where they can enact the horrors of an October 7th massacre again, and to threaten to take the lives of any Israelis or other peoples around the world again, as is their clearly stated goal. This is such a critical message, and I need everyone to understand in their thoughts, their prayers, but also in their words and their deeds, to fight to keep the pressure on Hamas and get our hostages home, because this is the critical and only message that we are able to and need to focus on right now. Here in Lviv, in the hostage square, I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.